Well, it's not a sequel. We got another requel. Let's talk about Scream 6. Scream 2, the story continues. What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassRee Brothers. And thanks for coming back for some more popcorns. So, Andrew, Anshul, and myself, we all went and saw Scream 6 last night. Directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillier, or Tyler Gilliet. I've still not figured out how to say that. So look, I had a lot of high hopes going into this movie just because it was their second one that they've done, these directors and writers. And I was feeling that it could have that same vibe that Halloween Kills had, when it was just like, man, everything's amped up to 11, the kills are better and all that stuff. It just wasn't that. Honestly, at this point, I hate to say it this way, it's just starting to feel like a part 6 in a franchise. Kind of the way the last one did, felt like a part 5. Look, it's filmed really well, it's a lot of fun, it's paced really well, you'll find yourself kind of on your edge of your seat. So the ride is fun, but it's all about that reveal at the end, kind of like an M. Night movie if it makes or breaks it, and for me, it broke it. And on top of that, I just don't feel like these guys are bringing anything new to the franchise. And this is coming from somebody who is a huge watch anything smut horror fan. But I also need for these guys to take risks and try new things in these franchises, which is kind of why I liked Halloween Ends more than most people. Took risks. The problem for me with Scream 5 and 6 is they didn't take any risk at all. It's the same formula over and over and over. It has the same cast from the last one, minus Neve Campbell and Dewey, obviously. We still got Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, who I love, Courtney Cox is back, Mason Gooding's back, Jasmine Savoy's back, and we got some newcomers in Josh Segarra and Dermot Mulroney. Of course, there's plenty of other people in the movie because that's what these movies are about. They want to always sway you left and right, and I have all this sort of misdirection in there to confuse you. Who's the killer? First and foremost, I gotta say, their biggest mistake in this movie was just doing that formula and having a reveal at the end. I understand that these Scream movies in this franchise are about that, and that's kind of what's worked, and that's what's sold to begin with. But you also have to have the element of surprise there. What worked about the first Scream movie is that you truly were surprised. Now you're just like trying to figure it out so much, and there's just no way to be surprised. We need to have a new shift in formula. We need to have a way to where we're actually on a cliffhanger at the end of one of these movies. Maybe we don't find out who the killer is. Maybe the killer is actually stretching over, and it's actually a fearful, scary situation where it's like, we can't catch this guy, but all we know is that somebody's going around killing people in a ghost face mask. No, instead, has to have all this sort of interweaving connections to the characters that all go back to square one from the first movie or a previous movie, and oh my God! Let's just have a good story now instead of sticking to this stuff that's so predictable. The problem is not with the directing, because you're invested in the movie. The problem's not with the acting. You're invested in all the actors. You are into what's going on. It's just all the formulaic twists and turns that you're starting to feel like, oh, look at this. They're trying to pull us over here. Oh, they're trying to make it this, think it's this person, trying to make it think it's this girl. And it's just like, make us invest into a story again rather than just trying to play the guessing game. And then by the time you get to the reveal, there's no way it can be any good payoff for anyone or any satisfying payoff, because it's just, you've already built it up in your head so much of trying to figure it out that you're like, wait, what? Okay. And then you start backtracking in the film, looking at all these things that happened and trying to look at the logic of it and being like, well, how would that have happened if this person is responsible for things? And again, I'm trying my hardest not to say anything about the plot. It's got an original opening kill scene, because that's the thing that we have to do in the Scream movies. Except for the last one, which she didn't get killed in the beginning, it was just an opening attack scene. We have some cool homages to the entire franchise, and the fact that this is Ghostface in Manhattan. They do huge homages to Jason Takes Manhattan, Friday the 13th, Part 8. They literally show someone watching that movie in this movie. And that's a lot of fun for directors to do. I totally get that. I do the same type of stuff. We all know that Neve Campbell's not in this one as Sydney, but they do mention her multiple times in it to make you know that she's still alive and breathing and everything's still going on with her. Gail and her still have their connections, which that's another thing. I felt like Gail was just sort of like, not necessarily her character was shoehorned into this, because it makes sense that she's in New York with her morning show and all that, but the way her character delivery was, the way they put her character into the scenes, the way she would just kind of jump in, it'd be like, oh, here's Gail, let me put my 2 cents in, and it felt so like a We're Back legacy character thing, you know what I mean? Like, that stuff starts to bug me a little bit. And of course they put that damn Broken Arrow music in there when they're talking about Dewey. Ah! They do connect this one fully to that last movie we saw, as far as the characters, that all the ones that survived are all in this one again. And you can tell they're probably trying to make this the group of people and the franchise core moving forward. And Hayden Panettiere also shows up as a returning character from the previous film, Scream 4, and now she's this FBI agent, and she's trying to help him figure it out. And you know, she was talking about how she almost died. She technically did die for a little bit. There is a really cool scene between her and Jasmine Savoy, Randy's niece, which, by the way, I'm so tired of all the token Randy characters in these movies always setting out their horror rules. Like in this one, literally there's people taking notes on this girl giving her horror rules. It's just stupid. Back to Kirby. There's a cool conversation between her and Randy's niece, and they're just talking about all their favorite horror movies, which ones are better than the other ones. And I was literally like agreeing with what they were saying, and then I was answering with them on screen in unison. It was just kind of cool. I was having a horror fanboy moment. It is scorier when you get to see the kill scenes. Yeah, there's the opening kills and stuff like that, but this is where I'm going to get into a little bit of spoilers, because I have to talk about this. So let's talk about spoilers. If you don't want to know spoilers in the film, turn away right now. Turn it off. Spoiler alert! So in this movie, you know how like in the other movies with Dewey, you think he gets killed in part 2, you think he gets killed in part 4, and then he just keeps surviving. He just keeps surviving. This one, that happens to like 4 people. It's like there's no stakes. It's like, yeah, the kill scenes are good in this movie when they actually show someone dying, because most of the attacks in this movie are just that, attacks. They don't actually die. And even then, the kill scenes themselves, a lot of them are off-screen kills. Like you just see the aftermath, and it is brutal aftermath, but you don't see it all going down and everything. So just the stakes weren't there anymore. Like this movie actually has a very low kill count. And another thing, some of these people that are surviving and keeping on fighting throughout the movie, it's just like in Scream 5, when Samantha gets stabbed hardcore in the stomach and she's still moving around, and Neve Campbell the same. In this one, these people are getting stabbed like crazy. Not only are they surviving, but some of them are actually getting up and fighting and moving around, and then in the end of the movie, they're just standing up like nothing happened. It's like, didn't they just get stabbed with a 10-inch knife like 3 times in the gut? I'm sorry, man, you just don't walk away from stuff like that. My biggest complaint about this movie is that it was so much of a requel again. It was, even though it's Scream 6, it was such a rinse and repeat of Scream 2, just like Scream 5 was a rinse and repeat of Scream 1. You know how, like, The Force Awakens, yes, it's a great movie, but when you break it down, it's just A New Hope, rinsed and repeated. Not only does this one take place at a college now, there's all these references to Stab 2 taking place at a college, but a lot of the movie, including the third act, takes place in this rundown theater that's very similar to the theater they were in Scream 2. And look, here we go. I'm about to spoil the ending, so if you don't want to hear it, here it is. I just got to say this, but they do a whole family thing of Richie, the killer in Scream 5, a family member avenging his death. It's the same thing in Scream 2, the family member avenging Billy Loomis's death. What the I'm sorry. It's just not anything new, and I feel like that all you're doing is taking the same ingredients that have been used, putting them in a blender, and tossing it around. Please don't take this as any offense to you guys who made this movie, because it is enjoyable to watch as far as the ride and everything, but the outcome is what bothers me. And I understand y'all worked hard on this movie. I loved Ready or Not. I just want something new and different brought to this Scream franchise instead of going in and be able to call the killers out and predict the entire movie. So with that being said, I hate to say this, but I give Scream 6 real mid. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns.
I hear you're a horror fan. It's been said.